E3 2016 may have been dogged by leaks and hearsay beforehand, but nothing beats actually seeing the games in action, especially when the announcements are on the level of what you're about to see. First up though, some honourable mentions. Batman Arkham VR will see Rocksteady return to the franchise alongside Mark Hamill again for a supposed one-off VR experience. Ubisoft's platform sequel Grow Up continues the original's cutesy charms. Star Trek Bridge Crew beams you and your friend into a workable Starship Enterprise, and the latest Legend of Zelda now has a name, Breath of the Wild, alongside a ton of gameplay. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, Bethesda, various PC devs, and even EA, all of them brought their A-game, capitalizing on the whole eyes of the world aspect of the show and positively dominating mainstream media exposure in the process. My personal favourite is the first entry on this list, but sound off your own in the comments below. From E3 2016, these are 15 jaw-dropping game reveals you need to see. So at number 15, the PS4 Spider-Man game. Nope, it still doesn't have a name, but that's likely because you're then forced to refer to it as that PS4 Spider-Man game. Talk about your brand association. It always did seem a little bit too convenient that Sony surrendered Spidey to star in Marvel's Captain America Civil War rather willingly, as now you've got to ask yourself, was that part of their deal, retaining him for some sort of exclusive video game? Better yet, veteran devs Insomniac are now behind the reins, and they've been quick to point out that this is a standalone release, rather like Web of Shadows, Edge of Time, or Shattered Dimensions. If this can do for Spidey what Arkham did for Batman, count me in. At number 14, Death Stranding. The result of giving Metal Gear Solid mastermind Hideo Kojima a few $1 million and saying, just do whatever you want. The trailer for Death Stranding was brilliantly ridiculous. All rendered in-engine and loaded to the brim with clues and symbolism. Check out the umbilical cords and formulas on his dog tags. Theories now include everything from dystopian sci-fi to parallels with Kojima surrendering his former baby Metal Gear to ex-corporate overlords Konami. Oh, and The Walking Dead and Silent Hill's main man Norman Reedus is back too. We love you, Kojima, never change. At number 13, God of War. Did anyone see this coming? Not only has Uncharted 4 taken a massive left turn and grounded Nathan Drake in a way more mature context, but now we're seeing Kratos experience the repercussions of a life long after his main adventures have concluded. Playing like a hybrid of The Last of Us and Dark Souls, it seems Sony are aiming to make Naughty Dog's more mature style a signature trait of the PlayStation brand overall. Watch this space, because there's a ton left to be said about God of War's new direction, not least the idea of genuinely making you want to care about one of the most one-dimensional characters in history. At number 12, Resident Evil 7. Hey, did you play PT? Because Capcom certainly did. They've been quick to point out that the available demo and footage seen so far will not be part of the final product, but it doesn't get away from the fact that Resident Evil 7 is clearly trying to hoover up everyone who was initially upset about the cancellation of Silent Hills. A first-person perspective, haunting atmosphere, clues to find, and a story to piece together. Yep, it's PT alright. The thing was even released as a teaser during Sony's conference. Check it out and let us know what you think in the comments, because at least there aren't any guys punching boulders this time. At number 11, State of Decay 2. If you like zombie fiction, I'm putting it out there. State of Decay is the best one to play. A survival-based open-world experience, you'll spend your time building settlements, ransacking seemingly abandoned houses, and popping a few thousand zombie heads along the way. For the sequel, all developer Undead Labs had to do was refine the melee combat and up the graphics, which they have, and it looks brilliant. At number 10, Dead Rising 4. Speaking of zombies, the original game that sold you on the whole, holy shit, just look at how many of them there are on the screen at once, is making a return. Dead Rising 4, although it's a numbered installment, is taking things back to the series' roots, pretty much being a soft reboot. That means more based on Dead Warfare, more Frank West, and more ludicrously fun weapons crafted from whatever you can find in the environment. Oh, and a fire-breathing Triceratops mask. Because Dead Rising. At number 9, Watch Dogs 2. Yes, this did get shown before E3, but that was mainly Ubisoft responding to a leak, prompting them to show some more revealing footage. The real deal was at E3, and honestly, Watch Dogs looks to be doing an Assassin's Creed, taking the original that had so much potential and knocking it out of the park for a sequel. More hacking abilities, better movement controls, a character you actually want to play as, the list goes on. Everyone knows that Ubisoft had a hell of a mountain to climb surmounting the negativity of the original, but for me, they've pretty much done it. At number 8, Quake Champions. Man, Bethesda know just how to score major points with the veteran gaming crowd. First, they revive Wolfenstein and pull off making BJ Blazkowicz something more of a walking stack of meat, and then they do the same to Doom, recalibrating that series lore to make the 23-year-old Doom guy, well, a god. Now it turns out that a small Armored Decal Easter egg in Doom was pointing to bigger things, and the third king of first-person shooter royalty is making a grand reappearance alongside its brethren. Quake Champions is the new name, with id Software touting 120Hz with unlockable frame rates, which is to say, if you thought Doom's liquid butter 60 frames per second frame rate was impressive, you ain't seen nothing yet. In at number 7, Steep. Longing for another SSX? Me too, but at least someone out there is coding a new snowboarding game regardless. Steep was what Ubisoft ended their conference on, and features wingsuits, paragliding, skiing, and snowboarding as interchangeable gameplay modes that you can swap between every time you pick a new starting point. It looks to be multiplayer and online only, challenging you to find the most dangerous spots and see if you can beat the rest of the world. At number 6, Dishonored 2. A modern day cult classic if ever there was one, Dishonored came out of nowhere and absolutely dominated critical reviews and Game of the Year charts in 2012. Its appeal lying in combining a huge amount of supernatural powers, stealth tactics, and fancy time-bending abilities. You could freeze time, possess a god who was firing at you, move said god in front of his own bullet, then unfreeze before cackling madly to yourself. The sequel is amping up all aspects of that ideology, and I can't wait to see what else developers Arcane have concocted from the last few years. At number 5, Skyrim Special Edition. Look, if you're going to do a remaster gaming industry, do it like this. Just look at those visuals. I mean, granted, PC players have had such rendering options available through mods for years, but us console peasants were firmly stuck in 2011 until now. There's a whole load of technical jargon backing up the work Bethesda have put into Skyrim Special Edition, but all you need to know is 1, it looks stunning top to bottom, and 2, Fallout 4 style mod support is now in, essentially giving Skyrim endless free DLC for as long as you want to play. At number 4, Titanfall 2. Another for the whole shown before but not in full pile, Titanfall 2 blew the roof off Microsoft's conference simply because we had zero expectations going in. That quickly changed with the advent of some truly awesome and polished multiplayer combat, footage that ended with 2 pilots firing out of their respective mechs and clashing in mid-air. Better yet, there'll be a full single-player campaign, proper characters and mechs to get acquainted with, and a ton of meaty weapons to fire into your various opponents' faces. Stand by for Titanfall. At number 3, Prey. Easily one of the most underrated and completely overlooked games of all time, 2006's Prey had a killer premise involving alien abduction and your brutal fight for survival. Now it's been rebooted entirely and looks to deal with humanity's imprisonment in some dystopian future state. We're yet to see very much more of it, but this idea of just hitting the reset button apparently comes after years of a sequel that was in development. But considering that development is now being handled by the fantastic Dishonored team Arcane, it's definitely in safe hands this time. At number 2, Days Gone. Not content with opening on God of War going all Last of Us, Sony ended with Days Gone, a game that ostensibly tries to mix State of Decay's open world sensibilities with Naughty Dog's post-apocalyptic tone. Honestly, it looked a little bit flat in action, but you can't deny the intention behind it, as the PS4 is definitely in dire need of new IP. Zombie fiction and apocalyptic tonality may be verging on overkill, but when State of Decay 2 and Dead Rising 4 are heading up Microsoft's oppositional assault, Sony need everything they can get. And at number 1, the Crash Bandicoot Trilogy Remastered. Now just how the hell are they going to pull this off? Sony's Sean Layden came out and announced the entire PS1 Crash trilogy is going to be getting a PS4 makeover, but didn't go into any detail whatsoever, instead deflecting into a Skylanders bonus figure trailer, which just looked a bit naff. How updating textures and how much of the game's physics or anything about how Crash feels will change remains to be seen or even alluded to at this point. So sound off in the comments whether you think Sony can actually make it work. So those were the 15 biggest games at E3 2016. Let us know your own favorites in the comments below. You can follow us on Facebook here. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'm Scott from WorldCulture.com and I'll see you soon.